I was elbow deep in the guts of my Ford F-150 when I heard my wife Sarah laughing through the kitchen window. Not her polite work laugh or her fake social laugh. This was genuine amusement, the kind she used to save for me back when we actually talked. "Oh my God, Jessica, you should see him," she was saying into her phone. "He's acting like such a drama queen over nothing. I told him it's just a silly crush, but he keeps sulking around like I murdered his dog or something." I froze, wrench halfway to the alternator. 23 years of marriage, and I'd become the punchline to her conversations with her best friend. No, seriously, Mike is being ridiculous. It's not like I'm actually doing anything. Brad's just interesting, you know? Smart, ambitious, actually going somewhere with his life. Brad, her new coworker at Midwest Tech Solutions, where she'd landed her dream HR job 6 months ago. The job that was supposed to be our fresh start after I'd finally gotten my contracting business stable. The job that came with late nights, weekend conferences, and apparently crushes on younger men. I wiped my hands on my coveralls and walked closer to the window, staying in the shadow of the garage. Mike's just intimidated because Brad actually takes care of himself. Have you seen his arms? And he drives that gorgeous BMW, not some beat-up truck held together with duct tape and prayers. My jaw tightened. That beat-up truck had paid for this house, her fancy work clothes, and our daughter Emma's college fund. But apparently, it wasn't impressive enough for the new Sarah. I know, I should probably cool it down. But it's harmless flirting, Jess. What Mike doesn't know won't hurt him, right? Wrong. I spent the rest of the afternoon fixing what didn't need fixing, my mind churning. By the time Sarah got home from work, I'd made my decision. No confrontation, no drama queen theatrics, just quiet observation. "How was your day, honey?" she asked, pecking me on the cheek like we were roommates. "Fine. Fixed the alternator. How was yours?" "Oh, you know, the usual corporate nonsense. Brad and I had to stay late working on the new employee handbook. She said his name like it tasted good. We ordered Chinese and made a real dent in it, though." "That's nice." I kept my voice level, neutral. Emma called. She's coming home next weekend for her birthday. "Great. I'll have to see if I can get out of the team-building retreat." She was already pulling out her phone, probably texting Brad about their next work session. That night, I lay awake listening to Sarah's breathing, planning my next move. She thought I was just some dumb contractor who wouldn't notice her pulling away. She was about to learn how wrong she was. The opportunity came 2 days later. Sarah was in the shower, and her phone buzzed on the nightstand. The screen lit up with a text from Brad, work. "Last night was incredible. Can't stop thinking about your hands on my chest. When can we do that again?" My blood turned to ice water. I grabbed the phone, my fingers working faster than my racing heart. Screenshot. Then I scrolled up through their conversation, my 23-year marriage dissolving with every message I read. Sarah. "Mike's working late tonight." "My place at 8? Brad. "Can't wait to taste you again." Sarah. "You make me feel alive again, like I'm not just some contractor's wife." Screenshot after screenshot, I documented months of betrayal. Hotel receipts split on the company card. Photos she'd sent him that I'd never seen. Plans for weekend getaways disguised as work conferences. The shower was still running. I had time. I scrolled through her contacts until I found what I was looking for. Amanda, Brad's fiancée. Sarah had met her at the company Christmas party, gushed about what a sweet girl she was, how perfect she and Brad were together. Perfect. Just perfect. I forwarded the entire conversation thread to Amanda, along with the photos and a simple message. "I think you should know what your fiancé is really doing at those late work sessions. Mike Thompson, Sarah's husband." Then I deleted the forwarded messages from Sarah's phone and put it back exactly where I'd found it. The shower shut off. Sarah emerged in a cloud of steam, humming some song I didn't recognize. "You seem happy," I observed. "Just a good day at work." Brad and I really clicked on this new project. She was toweling her hair, not meeting my eyes. Actually, I might have to work late again tomorrow. Big presentation coming up. Of course you do. I rolled over, pretending to go to sleep. Don't work too hard. But I wasn't sleeping. I was thinking about Amanda, probably just getting home from her job at the bank, checking her phone, seeing those messages. I wondered how long it would take her to call Brad. How long it would take for my wife's perfect little world to start crumbling. I didn't have to wait long. Sarah's phone started ringing at 11:47 p.m. She'd been asleep for an hour, curled up on her side of the bed like we were strangers sharing a hotel room. The ringtone was shrill in the darkness, Brad's special tone, some pop song she'd downloaded just for him. She fumbled for the phone, squinting at the screen. Even in the dim light, I could see her face go white. Hello? Her voice was thick with sleep and growing panic. I couldn't hear Brad's words, but his tone came through the speaker, angry, desperate, pleading. Sarah sat up, fully awake now. What? What are you talking about? Amanda knows what. She was whispering, but her panic made it a harsh hiss. How could she possibly... Oh, God, Brad, what did you do? She glanced at me, but I kept my breathing steady, eyes closed. Years of getting up at 5 a.m. for job sites had taught me how to fake sleep. No. This can't be happening. My husband doesn't know anything about... She stopped mid-sentence, and I could practically hear the gears turning. Brad, did you tell anyone? Did you show anyone our messages? More frantic whispering from the phone. Well, someone had to. Amanda doesn't just magically know about hotel rooms and those photos I sent you. Sarah was getting louder, forgetting I was supposedly asleep. This is a disaster. If Mike finds out, if my boss finds out... She got up and padded to the bathroom, closing the door. But our house was old and sound carried. I could hear every word of her meltdown. You have to fix this, Brad. Tell her it was someone else. Tell her the messages were fake. I don't care what you tell her, but you fix this. A pause. What do you mean she won't take your calls? What do you mean she threw your ring at you? I smiled in the darkness. Amanda had more backbone than I'd expected. Sarah came back to bed 20 minutes later, but she didn't sleep. I could feel her staring at the ceiling, mind racing. Every few minutes she'd check her phone, probably hoping for some miracle text from Brad saying he'd fixed everything. The next morning, I got up at my usual 5:30 and made coffee like nothing had happened. Sarah stumbled downstairs an hour later, looking like she'd been hit by a truck. Rough night? I asked, all innocent concern. Just work stress. She couldn't meet my eyes. That big presentation I mentioned? Right. The one you're working on with Brad. I watched her flinch at his name. How's that going? Fine. It's going fine. She poured coffee with shaking hands. Actually, I might not have to work late tonight after all. The project got postponed. That's too bad. You seemed so excited about it. She mumbled something about taking a shower and fled upstairs. I waited until I heard the water running, then grabbed my phone and called my buddy Danny at Murphy's gym. Danny? It's Mike. You know that favor you've been offering? I think I'm ready to take you up on it. Danny Murphy had been my best friend since high school. He'd opened his boxing gym with money from a settlement after a construction accident took his left leg, and he'd been trying to get me back into fighting shape for years. More importantly, Danny knew everyone in town and had no filter when it came to sharing information. About damn time, Thompson. What's got you finally ready to start throwing punches again? Let's just say I need to work off some stress. And Danny, if you happen to hear any interesting gossip around town, especially about Midwest Tech Solutions employees, I'd appreciate a heads up. Say no more, brother. See you at 6. I spent the day working on a kitchen renovation across town, but my mind was on Sarah. She'd texted me twice, unusual for her lately, asking what time I'd be home and if I wanted her to cook dinner. Guilt was eating at her, and I intended to let it feast. When I got home, she was in full wife mode. Pot roast in the oven, table set with our good dishes, even candles lit. She'd changed into the blue dress I'd bought her for our anniversary, the one she claimed was too fancy for every day. "What's the occasion?" I asked, playing dumb. "Can't a wife cook a nice dinner for her husband?" But her smile was brittle, desperate. "I thought we could talk. Really talk, you know?" We haven't done that in a while. We sat down to eat, and Sarah launched into nervous chatter about work, carefully avoiding any mention of Brad. She asked about my projects, complimented the new tile work I'd done in the bathroom last month, even suggested we take a weekend trip to the lake house we'd rented for our anniversary 2 years ago. It was a masterful performance, but I could see the cracks. Every time her phone buzzed, she jumped. When I mentioned running into Amanda at the grocery store last week, she nearly choked on her wine. Amanda? Brad's Amanda? The words slipped out before she could stop them. I don't know any Brad. Amanda from First National Bank. Sweet girl, always asks about Emma. I kept my tone casual. Although she seemed upset about something. Relationship troubles, maybe. Sarah's face went through several color changes. "Oh, that Amanda, I wouldn't know about her personal life." "Of course not." "Why would you?" After dinner, Sarah suggested we watch a movie together, something else we hadn't done in months. She curled up next to me on the couch, her head on my shoulder like old times. If I hadn't seen those text messages, hadn't heard her phone call, I might have thought we were making progress. Instead, I was planning my next move. At Murphy's gym the next evening, Danny was waiting with gossip and boxing gloves. "Your boy Brad's been making quite the impression around town," he said, wrapping my hands. "Word is his fiancée caught him cheating and threw him out. He's been staying at the Motel 6 out by the highway." "Is that so?" I threw a combination at the heavy bag, feeling the satisfying impact up my arms. "Yeah, and apparently, the girl he was messing around with is married. Some HR lady from that tech company. People are starting to talk. Perfect. In a town like ours, gossip was currency, and Brad was about to be bankrupt." "There's more," Danny continued. "Brad's been shooting his mouth off at O'Malley's bar, trying to save face, claiming the whole thing was the woman's idea, that she seduced him, threw herself at him because her husband's a loser." My next punch dented the bag. "Is that what he's saying?" "That's what Jimmy O'Malley told me. Says Brad's been buying rounds for anyone who will listen to his sob story about being victimized by some desperate housewife." I unwrapped my hands, mind made up. "Danny, what time does Brad usually show up at O'Malley's?" "Mike, whatever you're thinking." "What time, Danny?" He sighed. "Usually around 9. But Mike, the guy's 6'2" and works out religiously." "You sure you want to?" "I'm sure." I grabbed my jacket. "Thanks for the workout." "Mike," Danny called after me, "don't do anything stupid." But I was already out the door, and stupid was the last thing on my mind. O'Malley's bar hadn't changed since I'd started drinking there 25 years ago. Same sticky floors, same neon beer signs, same crowd of regulars nursing their disappointments in amber liquid. I walked in at 9:15, scanning the room until I found my target. Brad was holding court at a high-top table near the dartboard, exactly as Danny had predicted. He was everything Sarah had described: tall, muscular, perfectly styled hair, wearing a polo shirt that probably cost more than I made in a day. 3 other guys were listening to his performance, occasionally nodding or making sympathetic noises. "I'm telling you, she was relentless," Brad was saying, gesturing with his beer bottle. "Constantly texting me, finding excuses to work late, wearing these low-cut tops to meetings. What was I supposed to do?" One of his audience members, I recognized him as Jerry from the auto parts store, shook his head. "Married women, man. They're dangerous." "Exactly." And her husband's this blue-collar nobody who probably hasn't satisfied her in years. She was starving for attention from a real man. Brad took a long drink, enjoying his narrative. I tried to keep it professional, but she kept pushing boundaries. Finally, I figured, what's the harm? Give the poor woman a little excitement. I'd heard enough. I walked over to their table, pulling out my phone as I approached. "Excuse me, Brad?" He looked up, confused. He'd never seen me before. Had no idea who I was. "Yeah?" "I'm Mike Thompson, Sarah's husband." I let that sink in for a moment, watching his face cycle through recognition, panic, and calculation. "I couldn't help but overhear your story. Mind if I add some context?" The color drained from Brad's face, but he tried to maintain his composure. "Look, man, I don't know what Sarah told you, but..." "Oh, she didn't tell me anything. But you did." I held up my phone, showing him the screenshots I'd taken from Sarah's messages. "See, the thing about text messages is they tell a different story than the one you're spinning here." I started reading aloud, my voice carrying across the suddenly quiet bar. "Can't wait to taste you again." That's you, Brad. You make me feel alive again, like I'm not just some contractor's wife. That's my loving wife, Sarah. I looked around the table at his audience, who were now staring at Brad like he'd grown a second head. Funny thing is, these messages make it sound like you were pretty eager participants. Both of you. Brad stood up, trying to use his height advantage. "You need to put that phone away and walk out of here before this gets ugly." "Ugly?" I laughed, genuinely amused. "Brad, you haven't seen ugly yet, but you're about to." I turned to address the growing crowd of onlookers. See, Brad here has been telling everyone that my wife seduced him, that he was just an innocent victim of a desperate housewife. But these messages tell a different story. Should I read the one where he suggests the hotel room? Or maybe the one where he calls me a pathetic loser who doesn't deserve her? "Stop." Brad's voice was tight with panic. "Just stop." "Why? I thought you enjoyed sharing details about your relationship with my wife." I scrolled through more messages. "Oh, here's a good one. Your husband's probably never made you come like I do. Real classy, Brad." "Real professional." Someone in the crowd whistled. Another person muttered, "Jesus Christ." Brad made a grab for my phone, but I'd been expecting it. I stepped back and he stumbled forward, off balance. The movement sent him crashing into Jerry, spilling beer all over both of them. "Easy there, Romeo," I said. "Wouldn't want you to hurt yourself." Brad snarled, wiping beer from his expensive shirt. "You have no idea what you're dealing with." "Actually, I do. I'm dealing with a coward who seduces married women and then blames them when he gets caught." I pocketed my phone and stepped closer. "I'm dealing with a man who destroyed my marriage and then tries to play victim when there are consequences." The crowd was completely silent now, everyone straining to hear every word. In a town like ours, this would be front-page news by morning. "Here's what's going to happen, Brad," I continued, my voice low and deadly calm. "You're going to stop telling people that my wife seduced you. You're going to stop coming to this bar, stop spreading your version of events, and start taking responsibility for your actions." "Or what?" Brad tried to sound tough, but his voice cracked slightly. "Or I start sharing these screenshots with everyone in town. Your boss, your neighbors, your family. I'll make sure everyone knows exactly what kind of man you really are." I smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "And trust me, Brad, I know a lot of people in this town. People who do electrical work, plumbing, roofing, people who might suddenly become very busy when you need repairs on that fancy apartment you're renting." Brad's jaw worked silently. He knew I had him. In a small town, reputation was everything, and his was already hanging by a thread. "This isn't over," he finally said. "You're right. It's not." I turned to leave, then stopped. "Oh, and Brad? Next time you want to call someone a pathetic loser, make sure you're not texting it to his wife. Makes you look pretty pathetic yourself." I walked out of O'Malley's to complete silence, but I could feel the buzz of conversation starting before the door even closed behind me. By tomorrow morning, everyone in town would know the real story. When I got home, Sarah was waiting in the living room, still in her work clothes. Her face was puffy from crying, and she clutched a glass of wine like a lifeline. "We need to talk," she said. "Do we?" I hung up my jacket, taking my time. "About what?" "Mike, please. Don't make this harder than it has to be." "Harder than it has to be?" I turned to face her, and she flinched at whatever she saw in my expression. "Sarah, you've been cheating on me for months. You've been lying to my face, mocking me to your friends, planning getaways with another man, and you think I'm making this hard?" She started crying again, but I felt nothing. No sympathy, no urge to comfort her, just cold, calculating anger. "It wasn't supposed to happen," she whispered. It just did." "No, Sarah. It didn't just happen. You made choices. Every text message, every hotel room, every lie you told me, those were choices. I know. But we can fix this. We can go to counseling, work through this together. I'll quit my job, cut all contact with Brad. Whatever you want." "What I want?" I sat down across from her, studying her tear-streaked face. "What I want is my wife back. The woman I married, the woman who loved me enough not to betray everything we built together. But she's gone, isn't she? Has been for a while." Sarah reached for me, but I pulled away. "Mike, please. I love you. I've always loved you. This thing with Brad, it was just excitement. It didn't mean anything. It meant everything, Sarah. It meant our marriage wasn't enough for you. I wasn't enough for you. That's not true, isn't it? Like I'm not just some contractor's wife." "Your words, not mine." She covered her face with her hands, sobbing. "I never meant for you to see those. I never meant for any of this to happen. But it did happen. And now we have to deal with the consequences." I stood up, suddenly exhausted. "I'm sleeping in the guest room tonight. Tomorrow we figure out what comes next." "Mike, wait." But I was already walking away, leaving her crying in our living room that no longer felt like home. I woke up to pounding on the front door at 6:30 a.m. Through the guest room window, I could see Amanda's Honda Civic in our driveway. She was standing on our porch in yesterday's clothes, her blonde hair disheveled, clutching a manila envelope like it contained nuclear codes. Sarah was already downstairs when I emerged from the guest room, tying her bathrobe and looking panicked. She'd obviously seen Amanda through the window. "Don't answer it," she hissed at me. "Please, Mike." Just let her leave. But I was already opening the door. Amanda looked like she'd been crying for hours, her mascara streaked and her eyes red-rimmed. When she saw me, her expression shifted from desperation to something like relief. "You're Mike," she said. It wasn't a question. "I am. You must be Amanda. We need to talk. All of us." She looked past me to where Sarah was hovering in the hallway. "Especially you, Sarah." Sarah shrank back, but I stepped aside and gestured Amanda in. "Coffee? God, yes." In the kitchen, Amanda sat at our table while I made coffee and Sarah stood frozen by the counter. The silence was thick and uncomfortable, until Amanda opened her envelope and spread its contents across the table. "I spent all night going through Brad's things," she said. "After I got your texts, I went to his apartment and demanded answers. He tried to lie, tried to say it was all fake, but I kept pushing." She looked up at Sarah with pure hatred. "Want to know what I found?" Sarah didn't answer, but Amanda continued anyway. "Hotel receipts going back 6 months. Photos of you that he kept on his laptop. Screenshots of conversations where you two planned your little rendezvous." She picked up a printed email. And this. An email from you to him about how you were going to leave your husband once your daughter graduated college. I went very still. "What?" Amanda read from the printout. "Once Emma's settled, I can finally be free. Mike will never see it coming." We can take the money from the house sale and start fresh somewhere new. Maybe California, like we talked about. The coffee mug slipped from my hands and shattered on the kitchen floor. 23 years of marriage, and she'd been planning my destruction like a business transaction. Sarah? My voice was barely a whisper. Is that true? Sarah was crying again, but these weren't tears of remorse. These were tears of someone whose carefully laid plans had been exposed. Mike, I can explain. Explain what? That you've been planning to divorce me and steal half of everything I've worked for? I felt something cold and hard settling in my chest. That this wasn't just an affair, it was a complete betrayal of our entire life together. It wasn't like that. Then what was it like? I stepped over the broken coffee mug, moving closer to her. Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you've been playing a long game, making me think we were working on our marriage while you planned to destroy it. Amanda was watching this exchange with grim satisfaction. There's more, she said. Brad didn't come up with this plan on his own. Someone else was involved, someone who knew you, knew your business, knew exactly how to hurt you. What are you talking about? Amanda pulled out her phone and showed me a text conversation. Look at the contact name. I looked at the screen and felt the world tilt sideways. The contact was listed as Jessica, the mastermind. Jessica. Sarah's best friend, Jessica, who'd been coming to our house for years, who knew every detail of our finances, our marriage, our lives. Jessica, who I'd had to fire from my contracting business 3 years ago when I caught her skimming money from client payments. She's been orchestrating this whole thing, Amanda continued. Brad's just a pretty face she recruited to seduce your wife. Jessica's been feeding him information about you, about Sarah, about how to manipulate the situation. I looked at Sarah, who had gone completely white. Did you know? No. Mike, I swear, I had no idea Jessica was… Bullshit. Amanda's voice was sharp. Look at this message thread. Jessica telling Brad exactly what to say to you, Sarah. What gifts to buy, what restaurants to take you to, even what positions you like in bed. How would she know that unless you told her? Sarah's mouth opened and closed like a fish out of water. We talked, but I never thought she was… You never thought she was what? Using your pillow talk to help her boyfriend manipulate you into leaving your husband? I felt like I was watching our marriage burn down in real time. Jesus Christ, Sarah. How could you be so stupid? Don't call me stupid. Then what would you call it? You let Jessica play you like a violin, and you were too blind to see it. She's been using you to get revenge on me, and you handed her everything she needed. Amanda stood up, gathering her papers. I'm done with all of you. Brad, Sarah, Jessica. You can all rot together for all I care. But Mike? She looked at me with something like sympathy. You deserve better than this. Way better. After Amanda left, Sarah and I stood in our kitchen surrounded by broken coffee mug pieces and the wreckage of our marriage. The silence stretched between us like a chasm. I need to call Jessica, Sarah finally said. I need to hear this from her. Go ahead, but put it on speaker. Sarah dialed with shaking hands. Jessica answered on the second ring, her voice bright and cheerful. Sarah? How are you holding up, honey? I heard about the drama at O'Malley's last night. Mike really made a scene, didn't he? Sarah looked at me, then back at the phone. Jessica, I need to ask you something, and I need you to tell me the truth. Of course. What's wrong? Did you know Brad before I met him? Before he started working at my company? There was a long pause. When Jessica spoke again, her voice was different, colder, more calculating. Why would you ask me that? Because his ex-fiancée just showed me text messages between you two. Messages where you're giving him advice about how to seduce me. Another pause, longer this time. Sarah, you're being paranoid. The stress of this situation is making you imagine things. Am I imagining the email where I told Brad about leaving Mike? Because Amanda has a copy of that too. I don't know what game that little witch is playing, but it's not a game, Jess. Sarah's voice was getting stronger, more certain. Tell me the truth. Have you been planning this? Have you been using me to get back at Mike? The silence stretched so long I thought Jessica had hung up. Then she laughed, a sound like breaking glass. You want the truth, Sarah? Fine. Yes, I've been planning this. For 3 years, ever since your precious husband destroyed my life. Sarah sank into a chair. Oh my God. Mike Thompson cost me everything when he fired me. My reputation, my career, my ability to get work in this town. Did you think I was just going to let that slide? So you decided to destroy my marriage? I decided to give you what you really wanted. A way out of your boring little life with your boring little husband. And it worked, didn't it? You were ready to leave him for Brad, ready to take half of everything and start over. By manipulating me. By showing you what you could have. Brad is everything Mike isn't. Young, successful, ambitious. I did you a favor. I'd heard enough. I took the phone from Sarah's numb fingers. Hello, Jessica. Mike. Her voice turned venomous. I was wondering when you'd figure it out. Congratulations. You got what you wanted. You destroyed my marriage. That was just the beginning. I'm not done with you yet. Actually, you are. I smiled, even though she couldn't see it. Because unlike my wife, I'm not stupid enough to let you manipulate me, and unlike Brad, I don't scare easily. We'll see about that. Yes, we will. See you around, Jessica. I hung up and looked at Sarah, who was staring at me with a mixture of fear and something that might have been admiration. What are you going to do? She asked. I'm going to finish what she started. But I'm going to do it my way. Sarah reached for my hand, but I pulled away. Mike, please. I know I screwed up, but we can still fix this. We can still... No, Sarah, we can't. You made your choice when you decided I wasn't enough for you. When you let Jessica use you as a weapon against me, I headed for the door. I'm going to Danny's. Don't wait up. Mike, where are you going? I turned back to look at her one last time, this woman I'd loved for over 2 decades, who'd let herself become a pawn in someone else's revenge game. I'm going to war. Danny's gym was closed on Sundays, but he gave me a key years ago for times when I needed to think with my fists. I spent 2 hours beating the heavy bag until my knuckles were raw and my head was clear. Then I sat in the empty gym and planned Jessica's destruction. She wanted to play games? Fine. But she'd picked the wrong opponent. I started with her weak point, Brad. A man that shallow and narcissistic wouldn't stay loyal to Jessica once his own interests were threatened. I just needed to give him the right motivation. On Monday morning, I drove to the Motel 6 where Brad was staying. His BMW was parked outside room 127, looking out of place among the rusted pickups and beat-up sedans. I knocked on his door at 7 a.m. He answered in boxers and a tank top, looking like he'd been drinking. When he saw me, he tried to slam the door, but I was ready for that. I put my shoulder against it and pushed my way in. We need to talk, I said, looking around the pathetic room. Empty beer bottles on the nightstand, clothes scattered everywhere, the smell of failure and cheap cologne. Get out, or I'm calling the cops. Go ahead. I'll wait. I sat down in the room's single chair. While we're waiting, we can discuss how Jessica played you. That got his attention. What? Jessica Martinez, Sarah's best friend. The woman who recruited you to seduce my wife. I pulled out my phone and showed him the screenshots Amanda had shared with me. The woman who's been pulling your strings like a puppet. Brad's face went through several expressions as he read the messages. Confusion, recognition, and finally rage. That manipulative witch, he whispered. She used you, Brad. Fed you information about Sarah, told you exactly what to say and do to make her fall for you. You thought you were so smooth, so irresistible, but you were just following a script. No, that's not... Sarah wanted me. She chose me. Sarah chose what Jessica programmed her to choose, just like you did what Jessica programmed you to do. I leaned forward. Tell me something, Brad. How did you end up at Midwest Tech Solutions? Did you apply for the job, or did someone recommend you? His silence was answer enough. Let me guess. Jessica heard about an opening through her network, suggested you apply, maybe even put in a good word for you. Made it seem like coincidence when you and Sarah started working together. She said she was just being helpful. Said she knew I was looking for better opportunities. She was setting you up, just like she set up Sarah. You're not the predator in this story, Brad. You're just another victim. I could see him processing this, his ego warring with the evidence. But Sarah and I, what we had was real. Was it? Or was it just Jessica whispering in Sarah's ear about how unhappy she was, how she deserved better, how a woman like her should be with a man like you? I stood up. Face it, Brad. You've been played. We all have. So, what do you want from me? I want you to help me take Jessica down. Why would I do that? Because she destroyed your life too. Your engagement, your reputation, your job. Once this story gets around, do you think Midwest Tech is going to keep you on? You're radioactive now, thanks to Jessica's little game. Brad sank onto the unmade bed, head in his hands. What do you want me to do? I want you to call Jessica. Tell her you're done with Sarah, that the whole plan backfired. Tell her you want to meet tonight to discuss your next move. What next move? There isn't one. But Jessica doesn't know that. She thinks she's still in control, still pulling the strings. We're going to let her think that right up until the moment we destroy her. That evening, I was hiding in the back booth of Murphy's Diner when Jessica walked in to meet Brad. She looked confident, predatory, like a spider approaching a trapped fly. She had no idea that the trap was about to spring on her. Brad was already seated, looking nervous, but determined. I'd coached him on what to say, and he'd surprised me by how quickly he'd gotten into the spirit of revenge. This is a disaster, he said as Jessica sat down. Mike knows everything. Sarah's falling apart. The whole plan is blown. Calm down, Jessica said, ordering coffee from the waitress. It's a setback, not the end of the world. We can work with this. How? Everyone in town knows what happened. I'm probably going to lose my job. Sarah's talking about reconciling with Mike. Sarah's not going back to Mike. She's just scared. Give her a few days to calm down, then remind her why she wanted to leave him in the first place. And if she won't? Jessica's smile was cold. Then we move to Plan B, which is, we make sure Mike loses everything. His business, his reputation, his house. Sarah will have no choice but to leave him then. I was recording every word on my phone, but I wanted more. I needed Jessica to incriminate herself completely. How do we do that? Brad asked. I still have contacts from when I worked for him. Suppliers, clients, city inspectors. A few well-placed rumors about shoddy work, some anonymous tips about code violations, maybe some problems with his licensing. She shrugged. Mike Thompson's little empire will crumble, and Sarah will finally see what I've been trying to show her all along. That seems extreme. Extreme? Mike destroyed my life over a few $1,000s. Called me a thief, ruined my reputation, made it impossible for me to work in this town. I've been planning this revenge for 3 years, and I'm not stopping until he's lost everything, just like I did. What about Sarah? She's your best friend. Sarah's collateral damage. She'll thank me eventually, when she's living in California with you instead of rotting away in this small-town hell with a man who doesn't appreciate her. I'd heard enough. I stood up and walked over to their table, pulling out my phone as I approached. Interesting conversation, I said, showing them the recording app. Very enlightening. Jessica's face went white, then red, then white again. You bastard. That's the second time someone's called me that this week. But unlike Brad here, I earned it. I looked at her with disgust. 3 years, Jessica. 3 years you spent planning this elaborate revenge. And for what? Because I caught you stealing from my clients and fired you for it. You ruined my life. I held you accountable for your actions. There's a difference. I pocketed my phone. But you destroyed 2 marriages, manipulated 2 people into betraying everyone they cared about, and planned to systematically destroy my business out of spite. You can't prove anything. I just did. This recording, plus the text messages Amanda found, plus Brad's testimony, I think that's plenty of proof. I looked at Brad. You are going to testify, right? About how Jessica recruited you, fed you information, orchestrated this whole thing. Brad nodded, not meeting Jessica's eyes. I'm sorry, Jess. But I'm not going down for your revenge fantasy. Jessica stood up so fast her chair fell over. You're both going to regret this. No, Jessica. You are. I smiled at her, and she took a step back at whatever she saw in my expression. Because I'm not just going to expose what you did. I'm going to make sure everyone in this town knows exactly what kind of person you really are. You can't, I can. I will. And by the time I'm done, you'll be lucky to get a job cleaning toilets in the next county over. She tried to slap me, but I caught her wrist easily. I wouldn't if I were you. Assault charges on top of everything else won't help your case. Jessica yanked her arm free and stormed out of the diner, leaving Brad and me sitting across from each other in awkward silence. What happens now? He asked. Now you pack up and leave town. Find a job somewhere far away and try to rebuild your life without destroying anyone else's. What about Sarah? I thought about my wife, probably sitting at home waiting for me to come back and fight for our marriage. Sarah made her choice. Now she gets to live with the consequences. And Jessica? I smiled, but there was no humor in it. Jessica gets exactly what she gave me. Complete and total destruction. The next morning, I made copies of the recording and all the evidence Amanda had gathered. I hand-delivered them to Jessica's current employer, her landlord, her family, and every business owner in town who might consider hiring her. By noon, the story was spreading through social media like wildfire. By evening, Jessica had been fired from her job and evicted from her apartment. Her reputation was in ruins, her revenge scheme exposed, her life in this town effectively over. Sarah was waiting for me when I got home, sitting at our kitchen table with divorce papers spread out in front of her. I've already signed them, she said without looking up. I know you'll never forgive me for what I did. For what I let Jessica talk me into. I sat down across from her and looked at the papers. 23 years of marriage, reduced to legal documents and asset division. You're right, I said finally. I won't forgive you. Not for the affair, and not for being stupid enough to let Jessica use you as a weapon against me. Sarah nodded, tears streaming down her face. I know. I'm sorry, Mike, for all of it. Sorry doesn't fix anything, Sarah. Sorry doesn't give me back the marriage I thought we had, or the wife I thought you were. I signed the papers and pushed them back across the table. You can have the house. I'll find somewhere else to live. Mike, you don't have to. Yes, I do. I can't live here anymore. Too many memories of the woman I thought I married. I stood up and headed for the door. Tell Emma I love her, and that none of this is her fault. And Sarah? Next time you want to burn your life down, don't take innocent people with you. 3 months later, I was living in a new apartment across town and rebuilding my business. Jessica had left town in disgrace, her reputation destroyed, and her revenge plot exposed. Brad had disappeared to parts unknown. Sarah was living alone in our old house, trying to figure out how to put her life back together. I ran into Amanda at the grocery store on a Tuesday evening. She looked different, stronger, more confident, like she'd found herself in the wreckage of her broken engagement. How are you holding up? She asked. Better than expected. You? Same. Turns out getting betrayed by someone you trust is liberating in its own way. Makes you realize how strong you really are. We talked for a few more minutes, and I found myself genuinely enjoying her company. She was smart, funny, and had no illusions about love or trust or the games people play with each other's hearts. "Would you like to get coffee sometime?" I heard myself asking. "I'd like that," she said. "But Mike, let's take it slow. We've both been through enough drama for one lifetime." Agreed. No drama, no games, no hidden agendas. Just two people who know what betrayal looks like, trying to figure out if trust is still possible. Sounds perfect. As I drove home that night, I thought about Jessica and her elaborate revenge scheme. She'd wanted to destroy my life, and in a way, she had. My marriage was over. My trust was broken. My faith in the people I loved was shattered. But she'd also freed me from a wife who didn't value what we had, exposed the truth about people I thought I knew, and forced me to become stronger than I'd ever imagined possible. Jessica Martinez had set out to ruin Mike Thompson. Instead, she'd created something much more dangerous, a man with nothing left to lose and everything to gain. And that, I thought with a smile, was the best revenge of all.